Veredict is a developer that came out of nowhere and released two innovative plugins. Visco, a resynthesis morphing Blob drum machine, and Topos, a topological distortion and speaker simulation plugin. And by the way, these plugins have their own free versions that I will cover later in the video. When they were released, especially Visco, they caused a big fuss, but in this channel we don't like hype, so it begs the question. Does Veredict lives up to the initial hype? Let's find out. By the way, they gave me license for Visco and Topos to make a giveaway, so if you want to know how to participate, stick till the end. So first of all, we have Visco, the sim plan for drums, as many people said. The innovative thing about this plugin is that it's not a sampler. It actually resynthesizes any sample and recreates the sound almost perfectly. I mean, you have to pay close attention to really notice a difference. So what you're dealing with is more like an internal synthesizer engine rather than just a sample. This has a lot of advantages, especially when you want to modify the sound in weird ways. And also it lets you seamlessly transform one sound into another. Because yeah, as you can see, you can put two samples per track and you have this slider to change from one to the other. This makes it super fun to combine two sounds and form a new one. I mean, like putting the slider somewhat at the middle. For instance, in one hand we have this punchy classic 99 kick, and on the other we have this wide, stumpy and aggressive one. That alone is super fun, but what's the deal with this big blob? Well, this is basically a representation of the sound. Horizontally, you have frequency, and vertically, you have time. You can interact with the blob with a finger, a magnet, and an eraser to transform the sound into weird things. But honestly, I find it a little bit hard to use. I always end up with something noisy like this. Maybe I'm lacking practice, but honestly I prefer to transform the sound with the parameters at the right that will change the frequency and time thing. Now, besides that, it has a pretty simple sequencer with the ability of being polymetric, and you know that I love that. And then we have 8 slots for modulation, 4 envelopes and 4 LFOs that are also MSECs. But I don't know why, rather than using the modulators, I've been having the most fun by automating the things that I want to change in an arrangement. Maybe for me it makes more sense as it feels like drum programming in the playlist, and you have more control when you automate. So, does Visco lives up the hype? Well, I think yes. I mean, on itself, it's very original. They really took advantage of the resynthesis engine to create something unique. It has given me a different workflow for drums and drum mutations. But that's just half of the story. Let's now check Topos. Now this plugin has 4 different sections, and I believe that the most important ones are the amp and the speaker. With this selector you can choose the type of distortion or the type of speaker that you want to use, and it has a very wide variety. From guitar pedals and tape machines in one hand, to phone speakers, to guitar cabinets in the other. They offer little control for now, but they are enough to get a lot of different characters. Now what's interesting is that each of the speakers that you can choose are actually different combinations of the presence, size and fidelity. So it's a very physical way of simulating speakers. Now besides the speaker and the amp, we have other parameters. For instance, at the bottom we have the flux that will widen up the signal in a very nice way. And if we click for more advanced parameters, you can actually see that the flux can be applied for the amp and the speaker differently. Now, the amp and the speaker also have their own advanced features. In the speaker, you can change parameters for reverberation and the dimensions of the speaker and also the mid-range. And on the amp, we have deeper distortion features from folding and hard clipping to emphasis and dynamics. Now, finally, one of the most advertised features for Topos, the topological map. I mean, it gives the name. Each preset on the amp and the speaker are mapped into this plane. I think it's by similarity and closeness of sound. The idea is to explore more freely the kind of sounds that are possible to get. Of course, you can find middle points between two or more sounds. Now, one thing that I wish they applied on Topos is the ability to automate this movement, because the result that you get from moving around is really fun and interesting. So, those Topos lives up the hype? Again, I think yes. Now, a distortion plugin is as good as it sounds. It doesn't matter how many features it has. But I just show you a lot of different examples and I think that the sound is great. From subtle warmth and crunchiness to extreme distortion. This again shows that Forever 89 puts a lot of thought into their creations. In a way, they are creating these deep sound design playgrounds. But what's about those free versions that I mentioned? Well, they're not only a way for people to make clickbaity thumbnails, they actually are pretty good. On its own, Visco without a license will prompt you to get a license and you will have to wait to use the plugin. And for Topos, it's actually a stripped down version of the full version where you cannot access the advanced features at the right and you don't have access to the topological map. And by the way, I included this plugin on my top 10 recent free plugins video, that's right here. So as a verdict, yeah, they both live up the hype, but are they must-have? They can be a little pricey, but I think that it's worth it. Both will give you different experience from other drum machines or other distortions. So of course, test them first and let me know your opinions down below. Thank you so much for watching, I will see you next time. The giveaway, right. So to participate in the giveaway is actually pretty simple. First, you must be a subscriber of my channel, and second, you need to comment down below why you want these plugins. I will be choosing by random 2 lucky winners, and I will announce it in a week in a short. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching, I will see you next time, and bye bye!